Megyn Kelly's coming to the side of her Jewish friends. I'm Tall, the traveling cloud, your favorite Zionist prince, coming to you live from Israel. Let's take a look at this clip from Megyn Kelly.
Have you checked in on your Jewish friends? I can't imagine what it was like for them to go to synagogue this past weekend. I mean, this keeps happening, and it doesn't change the national conversation, and it's not dominating news coverage the way a mass shooting would, the way a single attack by a white person on a single black person would. It's just kind of like, anyway. Zero calls, in fact, for a national conversation to take place in legacy media. They don't see the pattern. And let's face it, their sympathies, for some weird reason, are entirely with the Hamas defenders. It's not even the top story right now on the New York Times website. What is there? I'm sorry, was there another terror attack someplace that I missed? Maybe I missed it. Was it the horrific gang violence with these 6 illegals who killed a black woman? Is the New York Times leading with? No, they don't give a shit about that either, because it's not white people who did it. But we'll get to it. In fact, in response to what happened in Colorado, where they were openly trying to rally support for the hostages that are still in the custody of Hamas, and the perpetrator was out there yelling, "End Zionists," and "Death to these Jews," we're supposed to wait to call it terror. Like, he's out there, free Palestine, end Zionists, and threatening the children openly. But, it may have just been some sort of civil disobedience. Maybe he didn't like his taxes. I don't remember him calling for that. I don't see anything about taxes or anything other than the evil Zionists in what he was saying. So to me, it seems pretty clear. And thank God, to the Trump administration, it seems clear too. We've had absolute moral clarity from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, no matter how cowardly the locals seem to be. And by the way, Jared Polis, while he didn't call it a terrorist attack, called it an act of terror, which at least is closer. I'm not sure what's wrong with the local cops. To top it all off, the suspect in this case, of course, cherry on top of the sundae, is here illegally. Of course he is. And he came here, wait for it, during the Biden administration. Now you're starting to sense why the media is not in love with the story. It's got everything. The attack happened yesterday around 3:30 p.m. in Boulder. Since November of 2023, this group of mostly elderly residents, they've been holding a weekly gathering to show solidarity with the Israeli hostages. And by the way, American hostages too, being held captive by Hamas in Gaza. One witness telling MSNBC the suspect might have been posing as a gardener doing yard work before he began his attack.
I saw him holding him and looking like he was about to throw it at people, and they looked exactly like what I would think would be a Molotov cocktail. There's also a big tank behind him with like a chemical sprayer, and he had initially an orange vest on. So I had the same impression that somebody else had mentioned earlier, that he was posing as someone who was like a gardener or something, and he was lighting people on fire while spraying gasoline on them, because that's what gasoline is what it smelled like. I thought it initially was alcohol. But I assume it was gasoline, which again singed the pants off of some of these elderly women, and the shirt off of one of the women that I can't really, frankly, I can't imagine.
You can hear him overcome with emotion. According to the NBC affiliate in Denver, 8 people, ages 52 to 88, were injured, at least one seriously, in the attack. 88. 88. By my calculation, that means the person was born in the, 1936, around there? Think about that. Think of what that person has lived through. I mean, I told you that this at least one, I don't know how many 88-year-olds there were, but at least one of them is a woman and a Holocaust refugee who fled from Europe to escape the Nazis. Think of what that woman has seen in the course of her life. And now, at nearly 90, she's burned in America by a Jew hater, by an anti-Zionist. What are we coming to? How does that happen? On the streets of Boulder, of course, one of our most liberal cities. I mean, the guy, not for nothing, is like setting people on fire in front of a pride flag. In this image here, you see one of the victims. Good Samaritans are surrounding her, trying to pour water on her. Oh, her body next to it is what looks like an Israeli flag. In front of her, you see a flyer with the face of a hostage and a U.S. flag lying on the ground. She was out there to remind people that there are hostages who are suffering. And she was made to suffer herself. The eyewitness also describing the injuries that the victim suffered. This is hard to listen to, but we must, in order to understand exactly what this man did.
A man probably, if I had to guess, was probably in his 50s to 60s, just kind of in shock and figuring out what he could do to make himself more comfortable. I mean, his leg from ankle or foot all the way up to his buttocks was melted. His skin was melted basically off or shaved off his leg. Sorry. It's funny because I've talked about this a bunch in the last couple of hours, and I'm not getting as choked up again as I did when I was there. And so there were some deep cuts in a bunch of these people's legs, probably an inch in diameter, with blood coming out of them. This other woman had burns all over her hands, ankles, feet, elbows. They looked stunned, confused.
This is just so wrong. The suspect was caught on camera. The video was widely shared on social media. You almost couldn't believe your eyes in watching it. It was, I sent it to my team like, is this it? This happened? This guy, he's still out there, still threatening, still holding what appear to be bottles that are about to become Molotov cocktails, which is basically like a bottle of alcohol or gasoline with some sort of a starter inside of it, like a rag that will catch on fire, and then they light it. Honestly, we just saw this in the Diddy case. There was testimony about how this rapper, Kid Cudi, his Porsche was firebombed by a Molotov cocktail, and the fire chief was on stand explaining exactly how it's done and how that one didn't go off to the extent it could have because they used a silk rag instead of, sort of your bargain basement rag, and the silk, I guess, was less flammable, but it's disturbingly easy for anyone to make one. And apparently this guy made many, because when you're going to see him on this tape we're about to play for you, he's already unleashed the carnage. This is after he's hurt the people. And what you see here, he's threatening more. He's got more bottles that he could potentially throw. And people seem to be coming, maybe they're just new passersby, seem to be coming to grips with the fact that this is a very dangerous man. And he means business. And he should not be approached. He cannot be subdued and get anywhere within the reach of those bottles, and you could be the next victim. He's shouting, it's hard to hear it at points, but he is shouting, how many people have you killed? End Zionists. Palestine is free, and they are killers. Watch.
We're here.
He's shirtless.
We can't do nothing
Jeans
about
on.
that. We can't do nothing.
We can!
Not here.
You have to end Zionists!
Not here, bro.
You're not!
People are taking video right
You have to
now.
end Zionists!
He was wearing an orange suit with something on his back.
Spraying alcohol,
Spraying
too.
alcohol, but what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
Palestine! And for us,
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails on.
if you are fighting, you have to...
That's what he's got right here. Is Molotov
You're
cocktails.
on fight thousands! They are killers!
Get back, Mom.
Here's what we know now about the suspect. His name is Mohammed Salman.
Well, there you
He's
go.
45.
That's surprising, right?
He came to the U.S. from Egypt in 2022 on a non-immigrant visa.
That's fucking surprising. Also, look at his skin tone. Look at mine. Just saying.
He was supposed to leave
White colonizer.
the U.S. 6 months later, but he never did. According to Fox's Bill Malusian, about 1 month after he overstayed his visa, the Biden administration gave him a work authorization to remain in the country until March 2025. March came and went of this year, and he remained once again illegally in this country. Stephen Miller, President Trump's deputy chief of staff, said it best on X, writing, quote, "No more hostile migration. Suicidal migration must be fully reversed." FBI Director Kash Patel wasted no time calling it a terror attack on X because he has eyes and ears. And a few minutes later, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino followed up, also calling it terror. Colorado's Democratic governor, again, as I mentioned, called it an act of terror. It's not a particularly controversial thing to say, but Boulder's police chief, nearly 3 hours after the attack and after that video emerged on social media, still wasn't sure whether we could call it terror and really wasn't sure what the motive was.
So I've been in contact with our local FBI multiple times. We are in contact with them here. We are not calling it a terror attack at this point. Again, it's way too early to speculate motive. I know there's a lot out there on social media, but I ask people just to give us a little bit of patience while we work through a really complex scene.
And of course, that was all some in the national media needed in order to try to downplay this event. Listen to this person on CNN. Her name is Juliet Kayyem. She's CNN's law enforcement analyst. They're using that term very loosely. She worked for the Department of Homeland Security during the Obama administration.
It makes the FBI look so juvenile. Like, why are you getting ahead of the police chief who says, I don't know what this is. It sounds, maybe it is what we all think it is, but maybe it's not. And he has no incentive to get it wrong. So we're going to take a step back, not be responsive to tweets by two heads of the FBI who don't have a long history in local law enforcement, and we will wait.
You're an idiot.
And hope it isn't.
You are an idiot. I was just going to say that, Megyn Kelly.
And if it is, then there'll be an investigation.
You're a fucking idiot.
That's like nothing I'd ever seen before. And until we know that the victims were members of that of the Jewish event, we don't have the nexus.
Oh my God.
And I will believe the Denver police chief that they do not have that nexus now. And if they do, I will be the first one out here saying that that is a hate crime. But until we do, we all need to not follow the FBI's tweets.
Right.
You're an idiot.
You're
a partisan hack idiot.
I agree.
It's juvenile to state what everyone can easily see and hear for themselves. Okay? It was death to Zionists, shouting, they are killers. How many children have you killed? On and on. Death to Zionists. It seems pretty on the nose. And let's see, did he target a meeting of the NAACP so that we're kind of confused on the motive? No, he targeted a march that has been going on weekly now for years that is in support of the Israeli and American hostages being held by Hamas. Seems kind of on the nose. I wouldn't call it juvenile to respond with, this was a terror attack. This July, there's a global...
It's just, obviously Islamophobia is the problem in America. When Muhammad from Egypt, Muhammad bin Masr, comes in and firebombs Jewish people, it's clearly Islamophobia is the issue in America. We need to focus on Islamophobia only, and make sure that Muslims are protected in the United States of America. They are contributing to American society. They are running for mayor of New York City. Listen, if the signs aren't clear to you already, I don't know how to slap it in to your face. I'm actually excited, not at the prospect of what's going to happen, but a little bit at the prospect of I told you so over the course of the next couple of years as we continue to cover this. You will see this continue to degrade. You will see this continue to get worse and worse. And I remind you again, Americans, if you're unwilling to do anything, look at the UK, look what's happening there. It will happen. If New York is about to get a Muslim mayor, which it looks like it's going to, an extremist Muslim mayor at that, yes, an extremist communist Muslim mayor. You already have it in London. Look how well it's going for them in the UK. Just mark and remember what Tal said. They're coming for the Jews first. They're going to get rid of us because we're not going to stay and tolerate that shit. We have our own country. If you're not going to protect us and we're going to allow Muhammads from Egypt to firebomb Jewish people in America, and on national TV they're going to say, it wasn't a hate crime, we can't jump to conclusion. If that's going to be the precedent, Jews are just going to end up leaving. They're not going to stay in America for a very long time. You'll have some sticklers, but like most are going to end up leaving. You're going to lose your Jewish society, and then who? Who's next? Jews are your human shield, both in the Middle East and in America. They take out all their frustrations on us first. Now, you either can join them like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Jackson Hinkle, or you can stand with us. Your choice. We'll see you in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, clats. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.